I'm sorry I didn't get here in time for the demonstrations. But let me ask about what this is going to do for job creation in a state like mine. And we'll start with Mr. Mullins. So you've got the smart helmet. And is this going to create jobs? Is it going to replace jobs? And what about, in what ways might this encourage some guy that wants to be a welder or is more inclined toward the VOTEC type education? Could you expand on that? We'll start with you, Mr. Mullins.
Thank you, Senator. Absolutely, products like the Smart Helmet are designed to create jobs, to empower workers with something we call knowledge transfer. Very complex activities, very complex tasks can be broken down and shown visually so that they're much easier to comprehend, to understand. It allows workers to put on a device like the Smart Helmet and be able to perform a task, even work in a job that they don't have any prior experience with. It's substantiated by independent studies, elaborating on the Boeing and Iowa State study that I mentioned in my testimony. They used augmented reality to train workers that had never before put together aircraft wings. Those workers using augmented reality were able to put the wings together, although they had no experience doing it, in 30% less time and with over 90% less errors than with any other training method. What was really fascinating, if you read the study in its entirety, is that the second time those workers used augmented reality to assemble the wings, the mean error rate was 0. They were able to remove human error from the equation completely, and these were workers that had never before performed those activities, never worked in those jobs. You mentioned welding specifically in the question. We have seen in our own customer base augmented reality used to train welders faster than previously possible, far exceeding the rates at which a successful welder can be deployed than even that in dedicated trade schools for welding. I think the opportunity here is actually to not just create jobs, but to improve the concept of worker portability, where a worker who may have spent a substantial amount of time in their career in a job or even an entire segment of industry that may not be relevant anymore, and give them the opportunity without having to take multiple years off to reskill and retrain and enter the workforce in a very productive way in a dramatically shorter period of time. I think that augmented reality has a huge opportunity to help us not just create new jobs, but reshape the workforce and the jobs that we have a very difficult time filling today. With the workers that wake up in the morning and want to make a living, they want to do something and don't have the experience today to do it.
In the minute and a half we have left, does anyone else want to take a stab at that? Mr. Pierre-Louis.
Thank you, Senator Wicker. As you were speaking, I was thinking of a few things that came to mind. One is the fact that a career in video game design, of which there are 3 schools in Mississippi that actually have video game design, and there's a company there. People often leave that and go into many industries because the skills you learn in learning how to make simulations are actually broader and have lots of application, one of which is an exciting technology that one of our members, Microsoft, is working on now. So they've developed a visor called the HoloLens, and it's a visor that's see-through, but you can have data input into it. And they're working with an educational publisher named Pearson to develop educational online tutorials, whether it's for nursing, construction, engineering. And so you're able to retrain through, they're working on developing this program now, on retraining people into various careers, and you're able to do that in a very consistent manner, just as Mr. Mullins discussed. When you have consistent training, you can get to a place where all workers are learning the same craft in an even-paced way. So a lot of exciting technologies.
And Mr. Blau.
Thanks. It's a great question, and I just wanted to tell you that I have the great opportunity to talk to many businesses around the world, both in core business market and consumer as well. The inquiries that come to my desk are wide-ranging. And in terms of creating jobs, we can see opportunities in the retail sector, in insurance, in training, in science, in education, manufacturing, and I could go on and on about the list. So we really think that there's an opportunity for this technology to be put into businesses for a wide variety of use cases. I liked your question, though, about how many different people could use the technology. We think it could be used from children all the way through adults and elders too, and in businesses, in the consumer domain, and not only just in the United States, but there's a lot of use cases we see in foreign countries. I have the great opportunity to travel to Asia and to Europe, and I get a lot of questions there about how to use the technology. So we really think it can be broadly applicable, and we think it can create jobs, and not only that, we think it's going to be beneficial to all of these industries that want to use it because it's going to improve productivity, maybe give you a great entertainment experience, and that alone will create a lot of jobs in the future.
Well, thank you very much. And Mr. Chairman, if you'll indulge me for another second or two. Mr. Mullins, you thought enough of your alma mater to mention it in your opening statement. I'm on the board at the Merchant Marine Academy and very proud to be an active member of the board. Are you a member of the Alumni Association?
I thank you for the question, and I think that I will be in the near future. Thank you, Senator.
They could use you, and I would have to say, I think you would agree with that the skills you learned as an engineering student have served you well in your chosen career.
Without a doubt. I think that the skills and the broad applicability of engineering across the merchant marine and all the factors involved definitely helped in how I conceptualized augmented reality being deployed in the workforce.
And that semester at sea made you a well-rounded person, don't you think?
Yes, sir. One of the best experiences of my life.
Great. Thank you so much, and thank you, Mr. Chairman.